Hello, my name is Tabish Khan. I'm an art critic, writer and speaker. And today I'm in conversation with landscape painter Joe Grieve before the launch of his exhibition at BWG Gallery on Soho Square that runs from the 24th of August to 17th September. Hello, Joe.
Hello, good to see you.
So first, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself as a painter? And if someone was to meet you for the first time, how would you describe your work?
That is a good question. So I would describe myself as a landscape painter because I'm struggling to get away from landscape. As I've already told you, whenever I go into a gallery, I only see landscapes. I look at portraits, I only see landscapes. They're engulfing space. So that's why I'm drawn towards landscapes in the painting side of things, and there's just that sort of ability to sort of make mistakes within the landscape that you can hide it. And like with a figurative painting or works, then it would be more obvious. I like that sort of chaotic layering that might not be good till the last 80% of painting, but you'll create it in that last 20% and it will all come together. And it's just that sort of layering aspect of landscapes I like, that I can see within nature as well. There's the layers upon layers of when you're viewing a landscape, so that's really draws me towards painting landscapes, and I cannot get it out of my mind. Yeah.
That's amazing. And how did the journey start? Was it something from childhood that you suddenly decided you were going to be a painter, or did it come later in life?
So childhood was all over the place. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just running crazy child, as most children were. And then into my secondary school, I did art a bit more, got into it. I had my really good art teachers, and like honestly, I wouldn't be doing art without those teachers today, Mr. Tomlinson and Joseph Ryan. Like, they're shout out to them because they've really like progressed me to where I am now. And without them, like I wouldn't have had the step into art that I would have needed to. They brought me to some crazy shows when I was 18. Like some of my first art shows was when I was 17, 18, and I went and saw the Anne Sam Kiefer show at the Royal Academy, and it blew my mind. The scale, I didn't know paintings could be that big. I thought art was something you made on a Sunday or something, and like I didn't know you could just fully be engulfed by the art, and that honestly, that was a stepping stone, the first sort of domino in the art world for me, and getting my foot into the door, realising that there was more than just a sketchbook drawing that you do at school or something. And then from that, I left school and went to do a foundation at City and Guilds, and that was good because that was also a bit like, I didn't really know if I wanted to be in art, but that would let me test it out for a year, trial it, see what I wanted to do, which was great. And then I took a year off after that and got my own studio, thinking that, I wouldn't need to get a degree, like I can do the art world on my own, and then realising, no, you should get a degree. There's people there that can teach you new things and not just what you know. So I then went to City and Guilds, did my 3-year BA, and from there, my degree shows where Jack saw my work, and I did a show with him last summer, Somewhere Near Perception, which was a sellout show, which was very good. And now we're on to this next one, which is this sort of culmination of all my new sort of landscape works and reflecting in the land that's around me.
Ah, excellent. And obviously, as someone who's a trustee of City and Guilds, I'm very biased in saying that it's a great school.
It's the best. Where else would you want to go, you know?
No.
There's like 20 people in my year, you've got like 10 tutors, like, what more do you want?
Excellent.
Yeah.
And then, moving on to the works that you produced for this show and leading up to this show. So if you look at them, they're clearly landscape paintings, but there's a sort of psychedelic element to them. And it'd be great to understand kind of how that all comes together. How is that a reflection of sort of your relationship with nature and our wider, as in humanities, relationship with nature?
So the distortion, it definitely comes from that social like climate of like the politics of land. It's all just very skewed in this country. Like, our right to roam is lacking. We've got like 92% of land that we can go on, that we can't go on. and 97% of rivers that we can't go on, which is just shocking. But I mean, they've opened up Dartmoor, so we're winning a bit now, which is a good step in the right direction. But yeah, this distortion is definitely from the current social climate and that sort of disengagement from nature in a way. It's like that abstractness, that distortion, it doesn't give an accurate picture because of we don't have an accurate picture of the land today. It's all, most of it's man-made, all sort of arranged gardens. Those are all sort of man-made structures. There's nothing natural in a sense about it, apart from the plants itself that will always grow, or not always grow naturally, but with the help of like the sun and things, like they should grow naturally, but it's still all sort of man-made, mapped out stuff. There's no real wildness to it. So I'm sort of taking that vision with like my own, so that's like the distorted vision of the land with my own vision that I'm sort of having to piece it in because it's not there for me to see naturally because it's always been corrupted by society in a sense. So there's that side to it, which is good. And then, I mean, like, yeah, it's just really the distortion, looking through that abstract lens that really allows me the freedom of painting, you know, getting in there. Nature has that, already got that freedom to it. I don't need to create the freedom myself. I can dip my toes into it, take some from it, and I'm almost painting nature just gives you that instant freedom with a brush.
And obviously here being sort of filming as we are in Soho, it's easy to feel disconnected from nature.
It's perfect. Couldn't have been a more perfect location, to be honest. When I'm thinking of London, the heart of London, I think Soho Square. We could not be further away from nature, being here and bringing these man-made structures into what we're trying to create as an artificial nature. Like, it's just very fitting towards it, I think.
And then, how do you see our relationship with nature? So do you see it in sort of like a positive light? Because obviously post sort of lockdown, everyone kind of appreciate nature more, we want to get out with it. But at the same time, we're still destroying a lot of nature in the world. So are you kind of an optimist or a pessimist or somewhere in between?
I'm definitely an optimist, but of course there's bad things that go around in the world that we can't, I mean, people can control it, but I would think that wouldn't happen because of how I think. Like, it just seems too foreign to me, like how somebody could want to destroy the land or want to deforest places or like pump pollution into the seas and things. Like, that doesn't compute in my head at all. So it's just like that disengagement almost doesn't work in my head because I'm not like that. So it's only from a personal point of view.
And what's your personal relationship? Like, did you grow up in the city? Did you grow up in the
So
countryside?
I was born in London, and I was always in love with going to the countryside. Like, my gran, she lives in Kent, so we would endless woods there. Like, and just I got sent to boarding school from the age of 11 in Oxfordshire. So I was in the woods there, like being away from home. Like, I got comfort being in the woods, not like being pepped up in the classroom and things. I could go escape to the woods because our playground was 27 acres of woodland. Like, couldn't have picked a perfect place, to be honest, for me. And then still being able to sort of come back on the weekend and come to the city and just see that contrast of like endless space, nobody around, to packed rat race of the city that's it's hard to get through the head once you're sort of going backwards and forwards. At least I got like 6 days in the countryside and then 1 day in the city. And that was a good enough sort of balance to me. Like, I seem like those sort of days balanced out the city, and like I'm constantly now having to like go back to nature to escape the city. And like definitely through painting is a way of me escaping. I'm not thinking of anything else, but if I'm painting that tree, like it's an escape for me as well as like having to live in the city. I wouldn't be able to live in the city if I couldn't paint nature. Like, it wouldn't be, it just wouldn't work.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. That's really inspiring. I mean, it'd be interesting to sort of talk about influences now. So, for example, obviously landscape painting has a massive history, including
Yes.
within British art and beyond in
Yeah.
the wider world. And it'd be great to see or hear about where you get your influences from and which painters particularly have inspired you.
So we could name painters all day long. British landscape painters from Turner to Gainsborough to Spencer to Nash. Like, we could go on, and they're all, and I've taken stuff from all these artists. Like, I'm so grateful for every artist in this world. Looking at their paintings, it's almost as if I don't have to paint them. I can just sort of take what I like, and then that's almost as if their journey is the start of my journey. So I'll look at these paintings, and like, when you go to the National Gallery or all these different galleries in London, you're hit with traditional European landscape painters, horizon line, and that's definitely gone into my subconscious because, I mean, you can see there's horizons in everything so far, and that's definitely plays on the fact that, I mean, I've never been to Asia before, so they've got that whole different flow towards their paintings, and I'm going off to Nepal in November, so I hope to see a bit more of the art, see a bit more of like, because they're much higher up, the roof of the world there. You get to look out, so you'll see those different, there won't be a horizon line, I might be able to get rid of it. And that's the biggest thing for me right now, is just getting rid of the horizon line. I'm stuck with it, but I keep looking back at all these old historic painters and stuff, and they've all got a horizon line, so it could have been a constant fight with them in their work as well, if they were trying to destroy the horizon line, but maybe they haven't travelled either. Back in the day, they didn't have the opportunity to go explore Asia and South America and all these different places to get that different feel of landscape. They were only subjugated to what they know from their other fellow artists.
Yeah, and obviously we talked about how travel's a big part of your work, so can you talk about sort of how would you go to places, do you sketch, do you travel a lot, and how much of it is kind of in person versus seeing things or sort of online? Especially you mentioned older painters couldn't obviously go on Google Images, which you can now. So how does that all fit into your work?
So I am very grateful for the internet for sure, but getting out there is definitely a big part of it. Getting into nature, getting that feeling of discomfort that I can then bring back and envelop into paintings, and then hopefully that feel will come through. It might not be as hectic and as crazy as the situations I'm putting myself in like wild camping in the Lake District, going wild camping in Wales and camping through 70-mile-an-hour storms where our tents have been ripped in half and we're having to take cover in multiple different places. But I sort of take those experiences of like sort of seeking discomfort, and then that's my struggle that I can bring towards the painting and hopefully make a painting that doesn't really resemble something, but resembles the feeling of something. But yeah, travel is definitely, like, I went to Scotland at the start of the year for 6 weeks, and that was amazing. Just being fully immersed out there, like the wildlife, the mushrooms, everything growing, it was just an experience and a half. And like, yes, I would go out into these places and sketch a bit, but mainly take photos, to be honest, because of the time scale being out there, the weather permitted. Like, the amount of times I've been out and I've just been pissed on by rain and my drawings, my ink drawings gone. Like, it can be frustrating in a sense. So photographs, you usually like flattening the image as well, and then translating it to a rectangular painting is a lot easier. So photographs definitely do a lot for my like preliminary sort of studies. But yeah, no, it's definitely films, movies, going out to landscapes, climbing mountains, watching documentaries on climbers and all these crazy people in the world. It's all inspiring to me. Right?
And do you feel like, I've mentioned this before to other people, that kind of trees and nature are very hot right now, isn't it? Where we're talking about the mushrooms and the sort of mycelial network and the wood wide web and all that sort of coming through documentaries and books.
I mean, it's all, the science is all coming more and more up to date. We're learning more on like, the mycelium and everything. Like, it's all connected. Like, the biggest like species in the world are mushrooms that range from like 200 kilometers wide, some of them, which is just insane to think of. But Yeah, trees and nature are definitely in at the moment, and I can see why, because of this disconnect. It's that yearning that people need, and it's like have the yearning for it, and I hope that with these paintings I can sort of give people a sense of what they are missing out on, because I know a lot of people that don't go out in nature, don't go camping, don't experience what it was like 100 years ago for the average person, or 200 years ago, like not having the joys of Wi-Fi and all this stuff. Like, you definitely need that to get away from reality to pursue the painting in a different light, in a sense.
And now, if we can, well, let's move on to sort of the process. So how do these paintings come to be? Do you start with a sketch? Do you have something in mind? Do they just evolve naturally?
So I'll come up with an idea, and this idea will just sort of take place for maybe 10 minutes, and I'll do some drawings with it, super loose sketching drawings, like it wouldn't resemble anything that you would see here. And then through that, I'll sort of develop it a bit, and then I'll get the ground down. So I'll start all my paintings from abstractness. So every single painting starts from abstractness that then gets brought into sort of reality, a bit more figuration over time. So everything sort of comes from that abstract lens, which then relates to how the social climate is playing off. And that's how I sort of see everything. It starts at that, and then like in society, you learn more, more evidence comes out towards things, people explain things more clearly, and like with the painting, it's sort of like, it starts as an abstractness, and then as I'm working through it, I'm developing, I'm learning new things. I can start to sort of see things appearing, and I'll work on those more, and then just through the layering and layering and layering and layering, it will come to life. And then at some point, I'll be like, oh, I'm happy, something's made me happy, and I'll be like, right, stop there. Move on to something else, come back to it in a week, see if you look differently towards it. And it would just be that whole process. Like, I'll have like 10, 20 paintings on at the go that will just keep going around in rotation. And then that's how I usually work. And then when to stop, that is the question. When do we stop? That's a question that gets asked a lot to artists. When do you stop? You don't stop. I could honestly keep working on paintings forever until I get deadlines, till I'm going off somewhere where I need deadlines to stop me painting. Otherwise, they will be this thick of paint by the end of my life, and I will have got rid of nothing out of the studio. But it's the shows that sort of put that pause on work. But then, let's say I get the painting after the show, that pause is then gone, and it's back to it. I can repaint on it and redo it. If it's in the studio, it's most likely going to get painted on.
Amazing. Yeah, that's great. And just to be clear, for anyone who buys your work, you're not going to knock on their door at 2 a.m. and say, I want to add a few things.
No. Although, it has happened a few times where I've been like stretching up a work, and I don't know, I've stretched it too tight, and I've actually teared through the canvas of the customer's work, and I'm like, oh God, what do I do? And that's me calling them up a week later, being like, oh, can I come repaint parts of your painting so that it fits in? And like, yeah, I can understand why that's fine, but I guess not necessarily one that hasn't had anything bad happen to it. No. But yeah.
Excellent. And it might be worth talking about some specific works that you have a sort of special relationship with, or that you kind of feel that there's something different about them from the others.
So, I have a special relationship with most of the works here. I've spent many hours on a lot of them, but Mark's End, this painting here, that you can't see out the shot now, but that is to do with, so it's a nuclear bomb going off,
right?
And it's got all this like hot fluorescent colours coming through to sort of resemble like the toxicity of man, not woman, man. And throughout the paintings, there's like stag beetles riddled everywhere. And then there's a play to that. It's like how this nuclear bomb's gone off. Only men have ever caused nuclear bombs to ever go off. There's that toxicity coming through of the stag beetles. So it's all a play on one another. And then there's one odd one out that stands out as this frog. And I sort of see myself as this resemblance of this frog. but that again is through my naivety in a way of me thinking that because I'm a man and I am good, like that all men are good. And that's just me having to get out my own head about it. But there is horrible things that get done in this world, and it seems to be mostly the cause of men. And that needs to be enlightened and shone light upon, and hopefully something can happen with that and sort itself out. But yeah, so I was talking in our DNA, that to me, we've got nature in our DNA. We've come from it. Even if people don't want to say it, all of us have evolved from some sort of animal, like whether it's out the water or, I don't know, I wasn't alive 23,000 years ago, but so there's this like constant yearning and feel that I need to have nature in my life. Like this painting has like sort of DNA strands going throughout it, building it up. So it's like that DNA, the abstractness of the sort of DNA that constantly built up those layers of DNA strands that created the landscape. And from that, I've sort of just developed the ideas of having like a presence of nature in all of my paintings, sort of. And then, I mean, going back onto Mark's End, where like this sort of, we made it a triptych for the show because of the grand sort of power that it needed to sort of show with the nuclear bomb going off, and that sort of threat right now of all these nuclear bombs the nuclear war that could go down. So that can affect everyone in the world. So I brought like sort of fast dynamic styles from all different sorts of art movements. You've got like Aboriginal art with the dots, and like that futurism with the like the dynamic movement, and then sort of coming away from the futurism side of things, because that's all to do with like the industrialization and like the modernization of the modern world. But I want to sort of rewrite that so it becomes like more of a like need to go back to the natural world in the helping of the modern world. Like we need to look at ways that we can sustainably do things, or we're not going to have a world to paint. Like we're not going to have landscapes to paint. Like I'm already taking fragmentations of these landscapes that of the scorched land and all the deforested land. It's only small little fragmentations that I'm taking, and then I'm sort of creating the rest of it up on my own, like having that freedom that nature gives me, where I can sort of just go with the flow, just keep working it. But I would love to be able to just have that sort of whole landscape already there that I'm looking at, instead of such a destroyed landscape, you know?
Yeah, and then looking at sort of the mark making in your work, so there's a lot of energy in there. So is it just you sort of attacking a canvas and being quite sort of energetic about it, or is it more deliberate and delicate? Because I think it's hard to tell without seeing the process.
Definitely, yeah. So I'm attacking it for sure. It's a duel. I'm fighting with this canvas for the first 50 hours of painting, and then it's those last, as I said, it's like maybe 95% of the painting I'm attacking, I'm fighting, and then it's like that detailing that could take the same amount of time as the attacking session, but I'm doing 1% of the mark making. I'm just fitting everything together. I'm like that mycelium, connecting all of the different things together within that painting.
And of these paintings, are there, because like you said, it's a deeply personal relationship, so I feel like for a painter, every painting is like a child, essentially. But is there like a problem child that was really difficult and you struggled to get your head around, and is there one that just came together so neatly that you're like, that's perfect?
Yes and no. So the problem child probably was Mark's End, to be honest. Just because of the themes, to be honest, of nuclear war. It's a powerful thing. Like researching it is hard. Like thinking about all those people that died and lost their lives due to nuclear weaponry and like anything nuclear, like from nuclear radiation to that, it's got long-lasting effects. And then I'm looking at something like this, which is an incense surge, which I think was very successful because I'd be painting it and then I sort of finished the 50 hours of intense, abstract attacking this. And then I did about 1 hour of detailing and I was like, wow, this really fits in with my themes. Like it's riddled with bugs and prawns and butterflies and all kinds of little creatures, but that sort of resembles humanity in a sense. Like all of us are just small, insignificant in a way, creatures of the world, and like we build up this world that we live in, this nature. Like it's very distorted because of what mankind has done to the world. Like I'm not seeing a full picture of everything because it's not how it should look. It's been changed too much. So yeah, this one's definitely a big success in my head because I didn't necessarily have to push it further than I would have thought I needed to. It was already doing what I wanted it to do.
Excellent. And then looking at that same picture, you see all the rays of light projecting out of it. And do you see something sort of spiritual in our sort of relationship with the natural world and your painting style?
Yeah, so light in a metaphorical and a literal sense is very important in my work. There's that light of there seems to be, at least like from most of the paintings, a light source coming out. It's that glimpse almost before. I like painting those like fragmented glimpses almost of like the moment before the light fully envelops the painting. Like with Mark's End, like that's a moment before a nuclear bomb's gone off. If you were to see a second still of what it could be in the next scene of that painting, it would just be white because you'd be fully engulfed by the light. You can see it as, but you can also read it as like, is the light coming towards you? Is the light going away from you? Which sort of, is that spirit, is that like holiness coming towards you, or is that holiness going away from you, you know, with the light? So there's that definitely, that play upon like all kinds of different things to do with spirituality and with light in the painting, definitely.
And you talked about what people will take away, so it'd be interesting to know, is there anything specifically you want people to take away from this, or are you open to them interpreting it any way they want?
I'm open, I'm very open how people interpret things as they want, because I mean, the paintings are abstract enough in themselves. Like, you're not going to be thinking the same thing I'm going to be thinking. So, and I don't want to play on that. Like, you're allowed to totally think what you want, but then I'll give sort of, with the writing and my thoughts towards this sort of a guideline on what you could think about it, but I don't want it to be forced an opinion. We have enough of forced opinions in this world. Like, I want people to be natural with it, let it come naturally, and hopefully it will help the world naturally, you know?
And are there any anecdotes you can share about what people have seen in your paintings, maybe things you haven't seen yourself?
So that's funny you said. So I would paint this scenes of light coming out of paintings, and I never saw them as like an explosion or a bomb or something until my brother actually went, isn't that like a nuclear explosion coming out? And that flipped my mind completely on ways I see my work now. Like, each little thing that people can say about it will definitely hint to something and change my thoughts on something. And they were also, one of my friends was saying how this painting, Fuel for Fire, this is like a mirrored image of Mark's End, a nuclear explosion. So this is like what's happened. The wood's been burnt, it's been fueling this fire that's caused because of man creating bombs, and now our earth is all scorched and burnt, and it doesn't look like there's not really anything that we can do to come back from that. But then there is that whole thing with, you need to burn forests, they need to have the nutrients put back into the soil, or they won't be long-lasting forests.
No, I understand. Yes, I saw a forest fire.
Yeah.
I looked at that one as well. Yeah. Well, I suppose obviously driven by what's happening in the news as well.
Yeah, oh my, it's so current. I didn't even mean to it to be current, but like just that subconscious things coming through, like with the forest fires, with the scares of nuclear war, with all this climate crisis, with this Just Stop Oil going on, all this stuff, it's all very fitting towards it all at the moment, of this culmination of my most recent works towards the land that surrounds us.
Yeah. And do you see yourself like one step removed from that? So you're an artist sort of portraying what the world around us is, but you're not sort of see yourself as like an activist or a call to arms?
I mean, I do in a way see myself as an activist, but not in such a literal sense of like gluing my hand to a road or something. Like, yes, that's doing something and it's getting a light in the media, which is amazing, and like hats off to these people, they're heroes. And with the installations in, like, it will show that sort of two options that we can go to. Like, you can, one, go to nuclear destruction of the world burning, or you'll come into the back room, which will be a luscious green room accompanied by like smells of nature. So we're bringing in all the senses, sound, smell, to sort of get it a very like physical experience within the paintings, not just looking at the paintings. Because whenever I'm in nature, your landscape, you've got everything affecting you, and that's what's creating those powerful, strong memories, and we want that with the paintings itself. So we're gonna have touch and smell and everything going on.
And that'd be interesting to talk about that show sort of. So, for example, the show will be immersive in the sense that there will be different rooms. It'd be good if you just talk through the sort of the rooms that people will go through as they venture into the exhibition.
So you'll come in through into the first room, where you're going to be engulfed by 55, 56 sort of paintings that are all smaller sketch studies of sort of my different journeys throughout this last year, all the different places I've been, certain aspects that I've liked of maybe other paintings that I've seen, and then that sort of transitions, because that's like a journey, you're going through those, and then you'll come from that room, you'll come into a corridor, which will be a sort of watery themed, like almost paradisey sort of vibe, where you can get a sense of like the beauty of nature as you're walking through. So there'll be sort of watery themed things there, and like be very pleasant. And then you're thinking you're going to be, you're going into something beautiful, and then you step into a wasteland, a nuclear bomb wasteland that's everything's been burnt and scorched, and you're like, oh no, what have we done? How have we come to this? And that hoping will be powerful enough in itself. And then stepping through to this third room, where it's going to just be emerald air. Everything's going to be green and airy and freshly scented, and it's going to be a complete contrast from the other room. So you get more of a sort of dystopian, utopian vision, where hopefully you'll much prefer to sit in the utopian vision, but I don't know, there's definitely something attractive towards people about that dystopian, nuked wasteland. Like, people, I don't know, people love going to war, don't they? For some stupid reason. And like, wars have endlessly gone on. Could they not just like pack it all up and stop them now, you know? Sort it all out.
And is that a deliberate design of the exhibition, that you want it to end on a sort of utopian vision rather than dystopian, and leave people with a positive?
Yeah, definitely leave people with a positive thought. Leave people with the sort of, because of their senses being tingled, that urge to get out there in nature. Maybe the urge to even like sign up to campaigns like the Right to Roam, and able to look into things maybe that can help out as well, not just being stuck in the concrete land of London, you know.
And talking about that collaboration with sort of BWG Gallery, it'd be interesting. I think people are really interested to know, obviously you are the creator of all these paintings and you create them in your studio, but obviously it's a collaborative effort, so we understand how it works. Very
much a collaborative effort. So yes, I create all the paintings, but I wouldn't be able to do anything without Jack at the moment. Like, he's got that vision as well as me of creating these enveloping spaces that your senses are completely over-stimulated by, and I'm glad that we can work together. And he's doing it. He's got the vision as well, building sides of things, and just the sort of the energy. Like, yes, you have those energies that are up and down, but he's always got the energy that you want, like, to get things going, to motivate you, and it's there. Like, so that collaboration is definitely important with this work. Couldn't have done it without him.
Oh, excellent. And obviously, we look forward to seeing the show in the flesh, but I suppose it might be hard to think about this because obviously your focus is very much on this show right now, but do you have a mind on kind of what comes next for Joe Grieve?
Travelling, probably. I've got to get myself up some mountains, get myself into some oceans, to be honest. I've never been scuba diving. I think that could be a very informative step into the next lot of paintings. I've got other ideas that I want to do for sort of installation works and like, but they're way in the future. Like, I'm not actually ready to paint those paintings yet. So, I mean, I've got some ideas for like a horror fun house that would be dropped on Halloween, let's say, and it would be like old school fairground horror house sort of thing. So there'll be a mirror maze with sections cut out of my paintings going in that will be reflected around, and there'll be different sort of, maybe some live actors who are getting involved in it as well. But as I said, I'm not necessarily ready to paint such horrific paintings yet. I'm too obsessed with the beauty of nature, you know, making things beautiful, and I think for that type of show, I'm going to have to make things horrible.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. And do you dream about it? Because it's interesting. Recent research has shown that because climate crisis is so forefront in everyone's mind, people are having more climate-fueled dreams and nightmares.
Yeah, I mean, if running away from tsunamis is the climate nightmare dream, then yes, I have those dreams a lot. Then the tsunami never gets me though, so I'll be lucky to hear. But it's still pretty scary, the power of nature that could happen. And I mean, like, we're glad to live on an island that's not affected by earthquakes or like, we don't have animals that can kill us. We're so lucky for that. But countries that are stuck on plate boundaries and are getting affected by tsunamis and earthquakes, like, it must just be devastating and horrible, and I can't even imagine it. And like, my brain, through my dreams, is trying to imagine it, but it's nothing compared, because I'm not feeling necessarily scared within it, but it must just be terrifying.
Yeah. And then on the happy note of the show's almost ready and ready to go, when it gets up, do you almost get a sense of relief that it's ready, or is it more sort of trepidation about how it's going to be received? And
no, I don't really mind on how it's received, to be honest. Like, people are allowed to have their own opinions on everything, and I'm all up for constructive criticism, but they are what they are, you know. They can't change anything from, well, I could change something about it in the future, but right now, like, they do enough for me, and that's all that matters. Like, if they're doing enough for me, then surely as humans, they're doing something for somebody else as well, you know. But yeah, definitely lots of places I need to go see in the world before any more paintings get done, to be honest. There's a few ideas of things, but yeah, it's all up in the air. I don't want to give too much away right now about ideas and stuff, but yeah.
No, I think that's an excellent place to end it. So, Joe, what's the show called, and when and where will it be, and when can people see it?
So, come and see Between Place and Time on the 24th of August for the private view, and it will run till the 17th of September in 13 Soho Square.